word to be used for is missing persons, because usually it is in the first instance of reporting, nobody goes and says, you know, so-and-so has been abducted, because abduction is when you now find the person who is culpable. It's like when you find somebody dead, you say somebody has been killed, but you will only establish by law whether it's murder or manslaughter once the court process has been, once you go through the court process. So the president could not have lied to the public, because the truth is that there are reports of missing persons. And as a matter of fact, they have been, in the last 7 years, there have been about 700 missing persons reported. Last year alone, there was about 123 people reported as missing. This year, about 13 people are reported as missing. Now, it's only investigations that will reveal whether somebody had been, abduction, or it is a case of somebody running away from the country. For example, I was in Parliament the other day to answer cases of persons who are trafficked out of the country, and they would be within the column of missing persons until investigations are done. So by President saying he has given directive to the security agencies that he does not want to hear cases of abductions, it is true, because then there were reported cases of abductions where citizens, especially late last year, early this year, recorded statements that they had been abducted, and about 5 or so young people came out to say that they were abducted, confined in some place, and then finally released. So that is the case that the president was referring to, that he had told the security agencies that he does not want to see something of that sort. In the right, we couldn't say really that abducted, but even cases of missing persons that are particularly related to just the protest are not conclusive. But we know that there are cases of people who are still searching their loved ones, some attributed to the agency, some others is generally within that period of time, within the statistics of 123 people who are missing. As to which ones were targeted specifically by certain people because of their political stance or because of what they were doing, we do not have specific statistics that this is the person being targeted, because that statistic will only be conclusive and moved away from the missing person statistics when you are clear that this one is related to a case of being abducted by either, some criminals, or in the cases where there has been allegation, even if it is a security officer who has gone rogue, then that would have been recorded once investigations can reveal. I have seen very painful stories, including the ones that are reported. I personally witnessed the case of Brian Odhiambo in Nakuru. So, and I met the mother, and I really, when we had a conversation about 20 to 30 minutes, and you can feel the pain of a parent when they are unable to see their loved one or meet their loved one. So it's something that I personally take seriously. As a parent, it even pains me. And I have had this conversation with our security agencies to say that everything must be done to make sure that these people who are considered to have been abducted or they are missing, everything must be expended to find out. For example, in the case of Nakuru, I promised the mother that I was going to do everything to follow up within government, and indeed I did. And I'm happy that even though Brian has not been found, at least the officers that were seen with him last, who actually arrested him, from the suspected to have arrested him from Kenya Wildlife Service, have been held into account by being charged in a court of law. And I can tell you for sure from where I stand for the commitment that the president has towards this issue. By the way, Jeff, it was our campaign manifesto. It was clearly in our manifesto, because we were campaigning at a time when bodies were being found in River Yala, Tana River, Abadeas Forest, and other places, mutilated bodies or people's bodies being drawn and found in rivers. And the president made this commitment to the people of Kenya in writing and also verbally that this was going to come to an end, and that he was not going to use, there will be no government policy that is going to use extrajudicial processes and terminating people's lives for purpose of political reasons or whatever reasons. So when we say investigations are ongoing, we mean it. We mean it. Remember, there was a situation where the MCA from Wajir, everybody had believed that that MCA was dead and had been killed. And good news is that he was finally found. As to what led to his, who exactly was involved in his abduction is a question of also still investigation. Yeah. So we take these things seriously. And let me speak for myself as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior, as a lawyer, as a parent, as a father. I take seriously any act that will lead to a direction that the government of Kenya, that a person in my position of authority would use my position to do things extrajudicially. I can say this without batting an eye that there is no government policy. It is something I do not condone, and it's something I would continue urging the Director of Criminal Investigation to do everything to make sure that these people are found. Remember, Jeff, for the benefit of people of Kenya, that our National Police Service has both financial, investigatory, and operational independence. And even though I support them, we support them government policy-wise, and to ensure that resources are given to them and so forth, it is incumbent upon our police service, and that's the DCI, the IG, and so forth, to continue being accountable to the people of Kenya. And, even though I would like to push for more resources in the ministry that I currently manage, I would like to say that there are competing interests across. Sometimes you ask yourself, is it more important to put more money in education, you know, so that you can make sure that more children can go to school? For example, when we talk about security of our country, a more secure country is a more economically stable country. It's also a country that has better educated people. When we were with the Finnish president the other day, he spoke very well about how they consider education a very important tool for them to protect their country from propaganda from their neighbors. So education also is very important for security. So security does not just mean the hardware. It also means the economic well-being of a country, social well-being of a country, meaning you must invest in your education, you must invest in your health sector, and remember those two sectors actually need a huge amount of resources so that you can be able to have a more healthy society. You also ask yourself, is it better to buy more guns and more APC vehicles, or it may be better for you to get all your money and open up the roads in Samburu, Baringo, Marsabit, Wajir, and all those places, because clearly research has shown that the areas that are prone to banditry, for example, are the ones that were historically marginalized. So that you're asking yourself, it may be better to pump more money in water, roads, schools, and infrastructure generally in the areas that have been either too marginalized for many years. But so when you're talking about a priority, it is this competing interest that the country has from this sector to the other, the ability to pay doctors well, pay teachers well, the ability to build hospitals, build the schools. But that then this competing interest requires us to become very prudent in terms of the resources we are using, but also to work very hard to expand our economy so that then we can be able to raise more resources to secure our nation. If you had a wish list, you as CS, of the kind of equipment you would need, what would it be? I would say that my first wish list will be technology. I would be really, our dream, and which is within our plan, is to make sure that we have, if we can have more drones, and not just the simple drones, the drones that have longer flight capability and with night vision ability to operate at night. I think that if you have that, you cut your cost in terms of surveillance, because then it helps you to do better surveillance. I would also say that it would be important to have protective gear for most of the police officers. I would also put priority in terms of training and hiring, particularly training to a high level and equipping the police officers so that few can operate in an operational area with better equipment. Yeah. I think if we were able to get there as a country and maybe to have a little bit increase of air power, if we could have more helicopters that can help in both operations and evacuations, I think that would help us. But if you ask me, because I have been here, particularly coming from Kerio Valley and coming from one of the counties that has been really affected by banditry, if you ask me my really proper dream, my dream in terms of security, particularly in the about 12 to 13 counties in this country from the northern part of the nation that are really heavily affected, from Lamu all the way to Turkana and to the corner of West Pokot and Trans Nzoia there, I would propose that we have a Marshall Plan, we have a grand plan to develop those areas. I believe that better infrastructure with water, with education, would give us long-term benefits than just security operations. I think that security operations, even if we invest in this equipment, for me, it is just to pacify the situation. You need a dual strategy. Pacify the area, but quickly develop. So that, did you know, Jeff, that most of the bandits operating in these, particularly in Kerio Valley region and all those areas, did you know that they are either 14, 15, 16, 17? The oldest being 23. In fact, there is one in most of them that they call themselves commanders in that Kerio Valley at 22, 23. Those are the senior. Most of the, in quotes, they are soldiers who go for the real fight at 16, 17, 18. You ask yourself, are these people aggressors or they are also victims? What do we do as a country that we have a critical mass? You have young people in one county up to 500 in one county that are below the age of 20 or around the age of 20 that know how to use a gun and terrorizing people and making us spend all these resources. You need to ask yourself, can you sustain this situation for another 20 years? My thinking is that, and this is the thinking of the president as well, is that I would rather we invest more in developing these areas that in the sessional paper number 10 of 1965, they were called low potential areas. I would rather we have a plan of 10 to 15 years to completely open up these places. For example, people who steal livestock here in Meru, they go and hide it somewhere in Mukokodo forest in Turkana, in Samburu east there. Some of the livestock that are stolen in Baringo, parts of Baringo North, Baringo South, are taken to Tiatich in places like Silale and on all those other areas. And nobody is able to go there. Why? Because the place is locked. Silale ward, for example, which is as big, it's bigger, it's twice Kirinyaga County, one ward, has only one secondary school. So we are also reaping where we sowed as a country. By marginalizing some parts of this country, they have become safe havens for criminals. I believe that we cannot continue investing in hardware of security if we are not willing to open up the places. That's why when the president spoke about the road, for example, the one for Isiolo, Modokashe, Wajir, Kotulo, Elwak, up to Mandera, 750 kilometers. People were laughing. But that, if we want to reduce cases of insecurity in that area, roads are very important. When we came to office, the president told me to expedite the planning for those roads. And I'm happy to note that in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to have completed those roads. A road like, for example, Lamu to Ijara, which was initially, when we came to office, was a Maram road. The president directed us in the ministry at that point in time that it must be tarmacked, and I'm happy that it's being tarmacked. I'm happy that now the road between Maralal to Baragoy is being attended to. I had proposed that the roads also from Loruk all the way to Lokichar should also be tarmacked. That will open up Tiati constituency. Tiati constituency is one of the most landlocked constituencies. We need to open up this Samburu, these Baringo areas, these Turkana areas, all the way through Kapedo. You need to open up from Samburu all the way to North Hor, up to those places of Loyangalani. If you open up these roads, can you imagine, Jeff? We were calculating with the governor of Marsabit when we were coming today that Kiambu County, that Marsabit County is 30 times Kiambu County. 30 times. Yani, you put Kiambu 30 times inside Marsabit so that it can fit in there. Yet we're still discussing about mega resources being sent to such very high potential areas with many possibilities in terms of development. We need as a country to ask ourselves, can we continue as a nation developing a third? In fact, did you know that these called the White Island areas, from all the way, say from Machakos here, all the way to Kisumu, Western and Nyanza and Central here, and parts of Highland Rift Valley, did you know that it's less than a third of the landmass of the country? Yet we are forgetting 2/3 of the nation is arid and semi-arid, poorly developed, no resources. I believe, as the Minister for Interior, that even as we pacify these areas security-wise, we cannot have peace as a nation until we develop these areas so that we can get rid of the supply of the fighters who are fighting
the firearms.
First of all, let me say that from now, the evidence that is coming out, from the few information that we now have, is that the Member of Parliament, even if we look at the clips, was already had a premonition, or perhaps he knew that his life was in danger. And we are told that he reported to some police stations and so forth. That should be subject of investigation by the DCI. We are also now told that his security detail could have been culpable in terms of involvement in terms of his murder. It calls now into question the fact that, is it enough to have a bodyguard? Is it enough to have a security detail? Are there other things that one has to do, or we need to do as a country? Because this person was killed in a very organized, particular manner, but also in a very cheap way. That, people just, somebody comes from within Nairobi here, picks a gun, walks around looking at you the whole day, and then eventually goes to kill a police officer. It was not a member of parliament. It was not with a level of sophistication that tells you that, government or security should have done even far much more. So it calls into question what else can we do to our security detail? Yeah, I would be interested, for example, from DCI to know, did this bodyguard fire any bullet? Did he attempt to do anything? If he was an accomplice, it means, therefore, that he was leading the killers directly to the Member of Parliament. So there are things you can protect yourself from, but there are things that are beyond you. Because when the people who should protect you more turn against you, it now calls into question many things: loyalty of the people that serve with us, what was the motive, were they induced with finance, did they have a problem with the Member of Parliament, is there somewhere they had disagreed with Member of Parliament, therefore they were part and parcel of this fight. It has left, I've spoken to a number of Member of Parliament, it has left many people beginning to think about their security detail.
Are you worried? Are your colleagues worried?
Well, it depends on the individual. It also depends on the level of threat that you face as an individual. And so there are people who don't even have a bodyguard. They don't even like going with the bodyguards. They don't have a gun. So it depends on the level of threat. You can see from the Member of Parliament, he had a higher level of threat. He was already worried about his security from before. And maybe the real problem was the failure to deal with the threat conclusively, even if it means making sure these people are arrested, or calling for a meeting, or exposing their names publicly if he knew them, or failure of those who were reported to, if it is true that it was reported to police station, to apprehend these people, could have led to the situation that the Member of Parliament has been killed. I really hope that this was an isolated case, and I hope the investigations will help calm many Kenyans who are asking themselves whether it is this cheap for any person to just walk around and kill another person, notwithstanding your status.
Yeah. But the efficiency and the quickness that the investigation has been expedited is, it's mind-blowing. But then you look at Baragoy, what happened there a couple of weeks ago?
Angata Baragoy.
Yeah.
Well, in the Angata Baragoy situation, it was very, very unfortunate. I can tell you it was extremely unfortunate, because to kill 5 civilians, it's very painful. And in a situation where there was no threat to do anything. Yeah. I mean, we are now told that some surveyors were surveying land, They did not have even the capacity to carry the land because there were few people. If there were 10, 15, 20, this was huge chunks of land. It would have been easier if both sides, and no matter the situation, if it was possible for both sides to be able to have a conversation even when there's a disagreement. Now investigation is ongoing. First of all, I continue sending my condolences to all that lost their loved ones. It was an unfortunate situation. There are cases also of public incitement that have since been reported, that some individuals were involved in processes of inciting citizens against the police officers. There is also investigation to find out whether the police officers used excessive force, and if they used excessive force, what was the circumstance. And the IG already pulled out the police officer from the area, and investigation of that nature is not, there is no doubt that the police officer who pulled the trigger are among the ones who have, there is no doubt that the investigation must go further to show which specific police officer and whether they used excessive force.
Have there been arrests?
Well, there have not been arrests yet, but because this has been left to police oversight authority. Now the police cannot do this, and DCI cannot investigate. What can DCI can only investigate? The civilians, whether the deputy county commissioner was accused was also culpable. That one is being investigated by DCI, and also DCI to investigate if there is any civilian, as has been alleged that there was incitement from any civilians. The police will investigate, but I still insisted that it was not necessary to lose lives. There was absolutely no reason for anybody to be killed, and I hope that the investigation will then conclusively demonstrate whether the police officers used excessive force, and if they did, then they will be brought to justice. The police officers also have asked me this question. What about the police officers, including the one who was struck with an arrow in his head? So I believe that DCI will do conclusive investigations. It will not just cover the police officers who committed, who killed civilians, but also it will involve civilians who either struck a police officer with an arrow or stones or whatever kind of issue. And I hope this thing can be sorted conclusively. My hope and my belief is that we stop politicization of the security sector. We stop incitement. I know that many people spoke and said they don't want police presence in Angata Baragoy, including the GSU presence, which the IG complied and moved the police a little bit further. Again, we had an attack the other day of bandits who came to attack civilians again in the same area, and citizens are now saying we want to have security protection because there was a buffer zone that was protecting them from cattle rustlers from Tanzania and from the other side. I want to say this, that we need to foster good relationship between the police and the citizens. There has to be a certain level of trust. And police stations and police camps should be places where innocent citizens can go and find solutions to their problems. I would, in my next visit to Angata Baragoy, I would like to have a conversation with the civilians and with the police officers that we would like to deploy officers, because they cannot, our citizens are paid taxes and they deserve to be protected from bandits and so forth.
But it sounds like, from what you said, it sounds like there's a lot of lawlessness. There's
a lawlessness and there's mistrust. And the problem is that many people want me to be politically correct. Some people are telling me, because you are a member of this community, you should only be seen to be defending the citizens of the area. Don't talk about police. Don't say that police could have been in self-defense and all those kind of. And I've told them, unfortunately, I am not playing politics. There are people who are looking for political praises. The job that I have been given, and consciously, when the president appointed me to this ministry, I was very conscious that I have to leave all these pursuit of praises and clapping and being cheered. So I'm ready to be insulted. I saw some leaders there insulting me and calling me names. That's not a problem to me. From the intelligence I receive, and what is going on around the country, my responsibility is to stick to the security and well-being of the country, no matter whether it is politically popular or not. In any case, in the fullness of time, if we can correct all the problems that are affecting our people's security without politicizing it, because what is making it very complicated for security men to do their job is political mobilization. And particularly now when we are in the second half of political term for most of the leaders, most of them, in the absence of performance of their responsibilities, they hang on popular things of inciting the public.
And there's an election in 2 years.
And there's an election in 2 years. So my call is that I'd like to request all the leaders to demonstrate a certain level of leadership, to restrain themselves. And Jeff, no one should threaten me because I am not a novice in this field. I have been a senator elected 3 times. Yeah. And in those situations, so many people have died in Kerio Valley. I was a senator. If I wanted popular view, I would have insulted the former ministers. I would have gone and removed or slapped a police officer the way I've seen some elected leaders. I conducted myself throughout that period in a very mature manner, every day seeking solution on matters of banditry in Kerio Valley. And I didn't do it for my county alone. I went to West Pokot, I was in Elgeyo Marakwet, I went to Baringo, and that is we worked with people like the late Senator Kipchumba, and we worked together. In fact, even when senators came from other counties and they were in different political parties, we put our political differences aside and worked together to find solution. My request is that in the situations like Ngata Baragoy, in the situation like the one which was in Baringo, I have the intelligence reports of all these situations where people go, they want to arm their own community, give them guns, give them bullets, make them embrace banditry. It doesn't matter where this situation is, and I'm not going to play popular politics. Yeah. I want to be very candid that injustice anywhere, injustice everywhere. We want to treat everybody equally, but we want to protect our country without inciting the public to commit offenses.
Once you have that intelligence report, which you get all the time, what are you doing about it?
Well, Jeff, you see, you have the intelligence report, but you can't arrest someone based on intelligence report because either they have yet to commit the offense or you must, the police must now do their job of investigating and so forth. Once we get that information, we always make sure that we speak to the administrative officials who are there, if it's a chief, it's a county commissioner, and so forth, from a civilian perspective, because the command responsibility is with the IG. But from a civilian perspective, I'll call a county commissioner and tell, the report indicates that there's incitement in a certain area. Could you go there and call a baraza and calm people? Can you tell them about this and so forth? Sometimes some incitement just happen instantly. You cannot anticipate that the citizens can even fight with police officers, for example. In some situations, you find information and leads, like the cases in some places in the banditry-prone areas, where you find that these close people to this member of parliament or to this MCA are the ones that are buying guns, they're the ones who are buying bullets, they're the ones who are telling people to go and stop in a particular place to kill people. In those instances, because you don't have complete evidence about their leaders, you go for the actors. So that's where we arrest people, we take them to court, and you will see some of the politicians will now come running around with trying to bail them out, making some noise against the cabinet secretary and others. And I want to say this, for as long as I'm sitting in this position, I have removed my political cloth. I am now responsible for the safety of the people of Kenya. I'm not going to play with the safety of the people of Kenya, and we are going to deal with it impartially.
You know what? You started at transport, right? Remember?
Yes.
And then you were moved to sports.
And then here.
And now internal security. Yes. And people are asking, are you up to the task?
Yeah. Well, I prefer, there is no point for me to beat my own drums, but I would like people to look at my track record, from my public service, from the day I became a senator. I'd like them to see the work I did in the roads ministry. You know, a lot of reforms we did, whether it was supporting the proper management of issues to do with Kenya Airways, whether how significant we changed the port of Mombasa, how I took a daring position to terminate the contract of Rironi Mau Summit, which we are now about to, which everybody was running away from, which we are now about to get a contractor to do all the road, to my very daring decision to make sure that we increase the fuel levy by 7 shillings, which has now been securitized to sort out all the roads problems across the country. So I prefer, when I went to sports within the 3 months, there are so many reform-related issues that I did, including establishing the sports the committee to deal with the sports law, what I did to make sure that FKF can do elections, which had never happened for 10 years. And we now have a functioning FKF with clarity of what they need to do. The plans that I announced and we advertised for the 50 academies, the plans we put in place for the stadia across the country, and you will see them being constructed soon. So I know that because of politics and so forth, people have been trying to color my record. But you know what, Jeff? I am not looking for my personal record in this government. I know my place. My job as Murkomen is to make sure that every responsibility given by the president is done to his first satisfaction, because I am working to make sure that his vision, I don't think credit should come to me. For as long as the credit goes to the president and his government, the rest of us are supporting president's vision. Constitutionally, I am not carrying my own vision. It is for us to carry the collective vision of this government. That is why when I went to Interior, the first thing I thought was that it was important to move the security conversation from the boardrooms, from the office of IG, from the eye towers of security to the grassroots. And that's why we established Jukwaa la Usalama. And this Jukwaa la Usalama has now helped us. Instead of people seeking for appointment to come and see me in Harambee House, they find me in the villages with the chiefs, assistant chiefs, village elders, OCSs, police officers, airing out the issues that are affecting them, that are affecting Mwananchi, and us finding solution on the grassroots. We've just come from Marsabit with the IG. In less than 6 months I've been in office, I have now visited 14 counties, 13 counties. Tomorrow I will be in Isiolo, it will be the 14th county. And I have listened to the issues and resolved some of them. It has also informed the policy changes we are making, whether it's the KPR, we have already drafted the policy changes, we are almost implementing, whether it is the issues that are related with the chiefs and assistant chiefs and the administration and the issues of sorting out the NGAO, the National Government Administrative Structure, from top to the grassroots, the question about our police officers, how they function, their relationship on the ground. Issues, for example, I went to Tana River, only to find some police officers have been in an operational area for 15 years. It's extremely dehumanizing for someone to be in an operational area for 15 years. No wonder we have sometimes challenges of mental health and so forth. And we have agreed with the IG from a policy direction that it should be only in 3 years you must be able to change the police officers who are serving in different places. So I would like, I wish I can diminish. Most people want to see me visible, achieving personal glory, berating public officers in public so that I look like I am the person in charge. My dream, and you know, many people do not know me, but they will know in the fullness of time. My dream is that I wish I would decrease even further. I wish I would be invisible for as long as the work we are doing is visible. And it should not be attributed to Murkomen alone. Every ministry I've gone to, I prefer that the credit goes to the team. And eventually, the ultimate credit goes to the person who has given us an opportunity to serve in it. They are not the only ones. As I told you, if you look at the statistics last year, there are the missing persons was 123. So far this year, from January to now, the reported cases of missing persons are 13, which are reported to the police. Whereas some cases are directly linked to the period when there was demonstrations, budget-related demonstrations, other cases are reported all over the country, including in the border areas of our country, and so including also in this city. A lot of people go missing in Nairobi. So it's a question of a great concern to all of us, and I think that the files are opened, they're active, investigations are ongoing, and as I said earlier, that particularly the ones that parents and families are suspecting that their loved ones have been abducted or there is an enforced disappearance, I think it's a matter of great concern to us. The same way we investigate any security officers who may involve themselves in acts of extrajudicial killing, abductions are going to be investigated, whether it's affecting people who are serving in government or citizens or hooligans or gangs. Yeah. That will be done. And you know, there was also a pleasant surprise last year that some people who were allegedly abducted were released. About 5 young people. There was an MCO also involved, and it's important for also the DCI to give full account of the same, so that we get to know whether they can help us, give us leads. I think the case of Honorable Ngondo Were, again, very unfortunate, is not the only one that has been investigated and persons charged expeditiously. You know, even the news today was reporting, or yesterday night was reporting about the trial that is ongoing for some officer who is working with IEBC from Kilifi, who had been murdered. And if you look at the newspapers today, one of the newspapers, I don't remember which one, it had even the picture of the trial ongoing, and that is something that happened 3 weeks ago. I mean, like a month ago, and the people were arrested immediately. There are cases of, there are various cases of crimes that are investigated by the police. By the way, nobody complains nobody appreciates the work of the police until something goes wrong. But daily there are many people who are arrested for murder, for robberies, for theft, for all kinds of crimes. They go and report it. But if you look at the record, the police officers investigate very fast. And remember, the issue of Honorable Ngondo Were was almost like straightforward. The CCTV cameras quickly showed who were with him in Parliament, the motorbikes that were following him, and then quickly there was triangulation of phone calls that quickly connected everybody, and it was easy to arrest all these people. And it's not just the case of Ngondo Were, many other cases that are go and report. It's just that because Honorable Ngondo Were is a member of Parliament and was given prominence in reporting, there are many other cases that police investigate and charge people all over the country for drug trafficking, for human trafficking, for murder, for assault, manslaughter, all these kind of crimes, robberies, they happen. I want to confirm that the complexity of missing person cases is inability to, especially if you are unable to link the phone of that person with the person who abducted them, it becomes a bit more complicated. Yeah. What is the state of our Homeland security at the moment? I would say our security is stable. Stable in the sense that we have functioning and working democracy as a country. We have a proper governance system. We have rule of law. You can arrest people and take them to court, charge them, and people can be held to account. We have many citizens across the country going about their business, economic activities, socialization. The unity of the nation is good. But you know, we collect, share credible intelligence in the country that we are able to use to act prior acting. and we have so many, and we have robust counter-terrorism measures. So our country is stable. That's why many people are going about their business. But it is important for the people of Kenya to know that for the last 20 years, we've never rested from the threat of terrorism. Remember that we have a very long border, thousands of kilometers from Lamu all the way to Mandera, to Kibish, and you come all the way to almost Kwanza. This particular border is is the place that we receive the greatest threat externally, the threat of external aggression.
So it's very porous.
It's a very porous border. The reason why we have acts of terrorism to start with is because of the border from Lamu, from Kiunga all the way to Lake Turkana. And as you know that Al-Shabaab activities have never stopped. And the reason that fuels the presence and aggression from the Al-Shabaab is because there is no properly functioning governance system in the areas they operate in parts of Somalia. As you very well know that reports also have indicated that they have become a great threat in the recent past, even to the government of Somalia. So this threat has been there, it has never stopped. Many Kenyans ask me, and I see some citizens, sometimes when they hear a reported case of either people abducted by Al-Shabaab like the chiefs last time, or they hear cases of people dying in a quarry, or they hear cases of some of our officers we lose in the battlefield, they wonder, they think, most people in the inland here, in the safest places of our country, they always thought that Al-Shabaab issue has since stopped, because you remember in the first administration of Jubilee, the first term of the Jubilee administration, it was a big problem. Yeah. And then part of the second term, and we really struggled. I was in that leadership also, and we really struggled to find ways of containing this enemy. And we have made great progress as a country. There are men and women in our border, particularly our security officers, who are making greatest sacrifice to protect this nation. They are operating in multi-sectoral team as a total team of what we call multi-security, which includes the KDF, includes the specialized forces of the police, and also citizens of this country who are making greatest sacrifice by virtue of shielding the rest of the country operating in the border and bearing the greatest burden and of security because of their border.
Do you get worried?
Why? I am not worried. That's why I started by telling you that the security of the country is stable. Why I'm not worried is because of the sacrifice our security forces are making every day. I get concerned, of course, when we lose men and women, but it goes unreported also that they are able to neutralize the enemy in a big way. And in most cases, these situations are not reported. So that's the first threat. The second threat is the question of banditry, which is fueled by proliferation of small arms. Again, that problem, it covers the entire border. But also when you look at our border in Marsabit with Ethiopia and all the way to South Sudan, all the way to parts of northern Uganda, you will find that there is a high proliferation of small arms because of the conflict in South Sudan, the situation in southern Ethiopia, and the problem of Somalia. So unfortunately, we didn't choose our neighbors. We would have loved to have neighbors that are like the southern part of our country, where our border is peaceful. We do not have to struggle with proliferation of arms. But that it is what it is. So if you go to a place, for example, as I went to Todonyang, a place that no cabinet secretary has gone since 2011, and you go to Todonyang, very beautiful, but everybody is carrying a gun. Why? Because the neighbors on the other side have guns. On this other side, civilians also have guns. So the entire border, if you go to Kibish and all that line, you will find that we are struggling with proliferation of small arms. What does that do? It makes it difficult for us to contain the crime of banditry. The reason why there is, because of the porous border, you have guns being sold all the way and brought all the way to Kerio Valley here, to Laikipia. You have up to Meru. You have situations also where ammunitions are also sold all the way. So the crime of banditry is being fueled by availability of these guns because of our porous border. That is again a consistent threat in our country.
Our armed forces, our police services, do they have the right equipment? Do they have, because
yes,
there's been a lot of IED explosions.
Yes.
That's taken, you know.
Yes, we have, by virtue of the program of modernization of our police service and our KDF has really helped in a great way, because some of the MRAPs that are being used and the IED vehicles that have been used in the north have really helped to save many lives of our police officers, but yet many more are needed. The context with which the Director General of the NIS made that presentation in Parliament was budget, because there were some people who are doing politics with security budget. They look at the security budget and they talk about, oh, this money is being given to NIS so that they can, do politics and so forth. We are even unable to provide a half of what we need to secure our country better. But we, using technology and using strategic operational processes, we've been able to narrow the gap. And that's why we must, as a country, continuously invest in the security sector. We must continue investing in better equipment. We must invest in drones, including the ones that can fly at night. We must be able to continue investing in more air power. There must be, one of the reasons why we are unable to track also sometimes bandits, because we do not have enough helicopters that can help us take the troops to the right place and then, be able to contain the situation that we have in our country. So the reason why some challenges are still persisting is because of our budgetary allocation. And the Director General was trying to say, you try your best to keep information. The amount of information I have or I know, if I told you, Jeff, maybe you will not sleep in your house. So sometimes you are like, let me keep this information so that you contain the country. In any case, as long as we are containing the enemy.
Correct.
But if that becomes a threat to the budget, sometimes you are forced to speak the way the Director General spoke, because it is not normal for a Director General of an intelligence of a country to speak the way DG Nordin spoke. Correct. But it was necessary because there's been so much propaganda out there that the only reason why our security forces are given resources or they need resources is for purpose of doing politics.
Okay.
Forgetting that